What's up, you guys out there, you 80s music loving people? This is the 80s music lover. I'm filling in today for the 80s music doctor. He was away on another appointment, could not make it. I'm going to be doing his album review on Jesse Johnson, and it's going to be on his third studio album, Every Shade of Love. There's not too many people that will actually go here and do probably the least most popular album by him, maybe second least most popular. Definitely from the 80s, this was definitely his least most popular album. Still I'm a fan favorite, and it's a great album to me, and I speak for the 80s music doctor as well, and the whole 80s music doctor production team. We love Jesse Johnson, and we're big fans of his. I've been a big fan of his since high school. And let's get to the review. Alright, today is January the 20th, 2014. And we're doing a full album review on Jesse Johnson's Every Shade of Love album. Alright. Alright, my cameraman Nigel also is away with the 80s music doctor. And they're working on another project as we speak somewhere else. So he asked me to fill in for him, and so I'm a one-man show here. I pretty much got the material down for what he wants me to show and tell. This is Jesse Johnson's third studio album, Every Shade of Love. The first song that was radio played to introduce the mood and the funk of this album and how it would be laid out was Love Struck. You guys remember Love Struck? Very funky tune in 1988? The same year Prince released his Love Sexy album. And I have to say that Prince and Jesse, since Jesse became a solo artist when he wanted to go solo, have been knocking on each other's door and just battling it out in the 80s. That was so awesome back then when they were battling it out, because this was really Prince's time to have some competition. He didn't just make a group to go against here. Jesse was playing for keeps here. When he first came out with Jesse Johnson Revue with I Want My Girl and Can You Help Me and I'll Be Your Man, though, Special Love, and the list goes on, and Free World, those were serious funk hits, and that year he had beat Prince that year. But we're not talking about that album. We're talking about Every Shade of Love. Now, what are some of the highlights of this album? Okay, you're looking at the CD here. We got the cassette there, and these are singles. Here, this is the 12-inch to Love Struck, and that is sealed, you guys. This one here is Every Shade of Love. West Coast and East Coast mixes, and they're both very funky in their own right. But let's talk about other songs and highlights from Every Shade of Love besides Love Struck. So Misunderstood was the second release on the radio for this album. It got just as much radio play as Love Struck did. Every Shade of Love was also a mainstream song, and it got probably more radio play than both songs, surprisingly. Not saying that it wasn't a good song. I love the song Every Shade of Love. It's got a jungle kind of, maybe Jamaican, like just everybody come together. Bob Marley mixed with Jesse's guitar and his arrangements, and on the strings on the keyboards. You got a lot of saxophone in this song played by Eddie M. from Sheila E. and her band from back then. Jesse uses Eddie M. all over this album. I think that it's a great fit. Actually, I'm not sure if Eddie M. actually joined him to be on this album as part of the team. But let's see here. Eddie M is definitely saxophoning it all over this album, and it fits very well, especially on Every Shade of Love. I love his sax solo. When he comes in at the end, he just puts it down and lays down the cement, the funk cement for this song. And yeah, everything works out very well for this album. This was Jesse's third studio album, as mentioned before. Stop, Look, and Listen. That was a funky, fast tune. A lot of fast rhythm guitar. Arguably, maybe one of the best songs on the album. Didn't get a lot of recognition for that song. It didn't. I don't know if it got a lot of radio play, but it was definitely targeted to be on the radio, to be a hit. Color Shock was also another song that was played, but it quickly left as soon as it came on the radio. No one really remembers Color Shock. They're like, well, what's Color Shock about? You know, what song is he talking about? I don't remember no Color Shock. Anyone who has this album or has heard it before, they know, of course, and they know it's a funky tune. One of the 80s music lovers' favorites. I actually love the whole album. I'm a little biased to this album, you guys, straight out to say, because I'm a big Jesse Johnson fan. I think that this album is just as good as the others, but the other two before it, but there will be a lot of people out there that would argue that point with me and say that no, it's not. But like I said, I'm a little biased, but just to tell you guys straight up, this is his most weakest album from the 80s, as far as how the public received it, how Jesse's fans received it. Doesn't mean that the funk in it isn't delegated. It is, trust me. He's got a lot of good highlight points in this album. His song, what's that slow song? I'm Just Wanting You. I'm Just Wanting You. Let's flip over one of these albums, shall we? Let's see what's going on here. Let's move this CD out the way. Let's flip this one here. Alright. Okay, let's go with side one. Side one is Love Struck. Okay, the first radio hit to lay down the cement to give you guys the mood of what's to come on this album, what kind of funk Jesse's rolling with this time around. So Misunderstood, another fast track, a good sophomore hit coming from this album to be played on the radio. I'm the One was a song that Jesse got with his other female band group that he created to go along with his first album, Jesse Johnson Revue, Tamara and the Scene. Tamara was representing, I guess, the whole group. She sang along as a duet with Jesse on I'm the One. I think they did a pretty good job on it. It's a little more slowed down, more like medium tempoed funk, and I liked it. Didn't know if it'd get radio recognition or not. It could have, maybe not. It's kind of stretching it, but anyone who's a Jesse Johnson fan would surely succumb to this song and accept it right away as another classic funky hit or tune. Color Shock was aimed to be the last song and fourth song on side one of that side. That song was meant to be a radio hit. Didn't know if it made a big splash or not. And then side two, Every Shade of Love. The album's highlight point next to Love Struck, because those two songs got played the most on the radio, was one of Jesse's biggest hits next to Love Struck off this album. Everybody Wants Somebody to Love. We got a lot of help, a lot of people helping Jesse out on this besides his band. I think we have Tamara and the Scene singing in the background on that one too, as well as some other Minneapolis fan surprises and cornerstones in the music business. Everybody Wants Somebody to Love, to me, should have been a radio hit. It's a little bit straight amaze for Jesse, a little bit commercial, but definitely has his lyrical genius written all over it, and also has his rhythm guitar and rhythm instruments all over this album. It's a fast-tempoed song, not the fastest one, but just as fast as So Misunderstood. I'm Just Wanting You. That song is the one and only slow jam of this whole album, and that is the slow jam of this album. This song was played on the radio. It got good radio recognition, good radio play. I guess just as much as So Misunderstood. Definitely a fan favorite. Requested a lot on radio stations. I remember back then. Love the tune. I think he plays probably his best guitar for his known guitar style playing back in the 80s. Real clean, nice clean solos, long solo for Jesse, guitar playing solo on this song. And the rhythm of the guitar is the whole tempo of the song with a nice rim shot beat to it. Jesse doesn't try to go falsetto on this slow song to make it syrupy and you know, that kind of slow jam type of Prince adored type of cut. He went another way with this song, just wanting you, and he wanted to just to be like you and your loved one in the park, just kicking back on a picnic day. You know, the sun's out, and it's just you're you know, in love with, or telling this person how much you love them and how much, you know, you want to make your life with them, and it's just a romantic, nice kickback, breezy type of tune with a beautiful solo guitar act during the middle end of it. All right, and then the last song on side 2 is Stop, Look, Listen. Like I said, this is the 80s music lover's favorite song probably on the album, or at least one of my favorites. Just the song is the fastest song on the album. It's a great way to end it. Just he's got a rhythm guitar, just dum 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 dum. It just goes fast, and it's like one of those fast songs that you think that it's 5 minutes long because of the tempo of it, the song, the way it's going, but it's really like barely 3.5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes and 40 seconds, something like that. It could be shorter. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the song is very satisfying, very tasteful. It satisfies any funk that you might have been looking for the album. It gives it a very, very sweet, satisfying end and closure to this Every Shade of Love album. And it makes you want to flip it over again and just run it again. So, props up for Stop, Look, and Listen. Should have been a great hit. Should have been a 12-inch and a 45 as a hit single. It should have been. This song, if it didn't get radio recognition, shame on the radio stations for not putting this song out. A lot of people missed out. If you haven't heard that song, if you do have this Every Shade of Love Jesse Johnson album on CD or cassette or whatever you spin or run your play your music, however you do it, please fast forward straight to that song and listen to it. Okay, not taking away from the rest of the songs, but that song is iconic on this album. And what he's talking about, I won't spoil it, but it's just that stop, look. You got to stop, look, and listen before you go tripping. That's what he's telling his lover. All right. So here we go. That's the album review. Like I said, if I didn't mention it, this album came out in '88. This was his third studio album. And this was, Jesse Johnson was at a point to where he really didn't want to do this Love Struck song and So Misunderstood and Every Shade of Love and all the highlights of it. He didn't want to do this album at all. He had it written, but he didn't want to do it because he wanted to stop at a high point, and he felt he was getting burnt out at the time. His creativity was sort of lacking. I'm not saying he didn't have it, you guys. It's just he wanted to do something and keep it sound and profound and solid, because he knew that he had a lot of competition with Prince. And of course, you guys know he's the guitar player from the time, if I didn't mention that. You know, so this is Jesse Johnson, you guys. And he takes his funk and music very seriously, like all the other Minneapolis people that come from Minneapolis and that funk from there. So, respecting the nature of the music, he wanted to just scrap Every Shade of Love. He didn't want to do it. But I guess A&M Records started putting a little pressure on him. Said, look, you got a contract with us. You're going to put out something. So this album was the most he had written. Everything was working, I guess, to pass on. So he went on and released it. If it was up to Jesse, he probably would have made it longer than just 8 tracks, 4 on each side. He probably would have made it maybe 13 tracks, 14 tracks, and then, you know, would have made those songs, I don't know, maybe more radio friendly and artistic friendly, and giving the fans what they want really from him instead of the. Now myself, I think it's a great album. I think it's totally underrated. I love Every Shade of Love. I play this album probably more than his other ones. And let's see, you know, go and find it. Find it on eBay. Find it. And if you don't have it, buy it. Look it up. Anyone who likes Prince and the Minneapolis sound, if you're a Jesse Johnson fan or used to be, hey, this album fits right along with that time era in the 80s. You know, no love lost. I mean, but it is his weakest album out of the 3. And this is the wrap up, and this is it for the 80s music doctor, but 80s music lover filling in for other music doctors. Album review for Jesse Johnson's Every Shade of Love. Hope you guys enjoyed the review. Peace, love, funk in the 80s to all you out there. And peace out. Bye-bye.